All right, hi, Braden, Desan, and Martin. So this is day number 2 of specific to you videos. So yesterday I read the article to you about the American and European Industrial Revolutions. Make sure that you did turn that in. I saw a couple of you have already done so, so make sure you get that assignment turned in. Today your assignment is a little bit different. We're still going to read an article, and I'm going to read it to you. But you are not going to be answering any questions. I'm just going to need you to take a picture of yourself, giving a thumbs up, showing that you listened to the video and you paid attention to the reading. Okay, so if you want to go back over the reading, I will have that uploaded for you as well. Okay, so yesterday you guys answered questions about the Industrial Revolution and how it began. So I'm going to go over the answers with you really quickly. Oh, that's not the right one. Huh, where did it go? Maybe it is the right one. Okay. So we read through this whole article yesterday. So here are the answers. All right, in what country did the Industrial Revolution begin? It was England. The first products to be produced were clothes. The resources Great Britain had was coal and iron. Textile means cloth. The material that they heated in an airtight oven to make coke was coal. The increased production of cloth in the 1700s was due to all of these things: the spinning jenny, the flying shuttle, the water power loom. What was the most significant invention of the Industrial Revolution? The answer should be steam engine. Which inventor improved the steam engine? That's James Watt. Which raw material was essential to the production of iron? Going to be coal again. And again, the conditions that were important to development would be all of the above. For America's Industrial Revolution, the reason Samuel Slater memorized the details was all of the above. So it was illegal to have the diagrams and they were state secrets. The first textile mill was in Rhode Island. The invention that made it more profitable to grow cotton was a cotton gin, which was invented by Eli Whitney. If you chose to work in a factory as a mill girl in Massachusetts, you could earn $3 a week, which was pretty good for that time. How much money did the mill girls pay for rent and food? They paid $1. Okay, so they made $3, paid $1, they got to keep $2. What workers made less than $1 a week? The answer would be both B and C, seamstresses and servants. Seamstresses are people who sew clothes together. Which leader wanted the US to become an industrialized nation? The answer is C, Alexander Hamilton. And number 9, who believed the US should remain a nation of small farms? Oh, I didn't give you the correct answer on this one. That is my fault. Oops. The answer should be, hold up. The answer should be Thomas Jefferson. So that's my fault. Number 10, what guarantees an inventor legal protection for his invention? That's a patent. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do today is read this article right here about revolution in transportation and communication. And then after we're done, you're going to take a picture of yourself giving a thumbs up, showing that you listened to this article. All right, revolution in transportation and communication. First section, national roads. Factories produce goods, but the ability to transport these goods to buyers is essential to the growth of industry. In the early 1800s, the only cheap and efficient means of travel was by water. It was far cheaper to send a ton of cotton from North Carolina to England than it was to ship it a few hundred miles to Pennsylvania. The US government addressed this problem by funding a national road from Cumberland, Maryland, through what is now Wheeling, West Virginia, and eventually all the way to Vandalia, Illinois. This wagon road helped owners transport goods west to buyers who would otherwise not have been able to purchase them. Okay, next section. The Erie Canal was dug across central New York State and helped manufacturers reach Western buyers. Built between 1817 and 1825, The Erie Canal was a major engineering accomplishment of the era. Shipping goods on this man-made waterway cut the cost of shipping to a fraction of what it cost to transport freight by wagon along rugged trails and roads. Over 13,000 boats used the canal in its first year of operation. The success of the Erie Canal encouraged many other states to dig canals connecting natural waterways. Steamboats. Flatboats were modified rafts which were very effective for moving products downriver. They allowed farmers to ship goods down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers to New Orleans. But there was no effective way to ship goods upstream until the invention of the steamboat. Early inventors of steamboats, such as John Fitch, actually lost money because so few people were willing to take a chance riding on such unusual-looking boats, and because they feared the engines would explode. The first steamboats were not big enough or strong enough to carry large loads. All right, next section, Robert Fulton. Robert Fulton improved the design of the steamboat. In addition, he used copper sheets to build the huge boiler, which was needed to power such a large boat. Fulton demonstrated his invention by carrying a load up the Hudson River from New York City to Albany at 5 miles an hour, much faster than any flatboat or wagon could travel. He named the ship the Clermont. The success of Fulton's steamboat led to the rapid production of many of these boats. All right, speedy steamboats. Steamboats became synonymous with the speedy water travel through, although they were very slow by today's standards. A trip from New Orleans, Louisiana to Louisville, Kentucky took 3 months by land, but only about 10 days by steamboat, so much faster by steamboat. Investors were impressed with the invention, and many steamboats were made. Travel on these boats remained popular even with frequent accidents, explosions, and drownings that killed hundreds of people during the age of steam. Steamboats were used on the ocean to travel from New York to London, and especially on the waterways connecting the river cities of the American Midwest. All right, railroads. Railroads changed forever the transportation of factory goods to local markets. The first railroads were cars pulled by horses along iron rails. The first steam locomotive was built by an English engineer named Richard Trevithick in 1804. A few other steam locomotives were built in England, but steam locomotives did not come into general use in England or America until the 1830s. Some local rail lines had been built in New England with financing from local investors, but railroad lines needed more capital or money than private investors could raise. In 1825, John Stevens built the first American-made railway steam engine. In 1831, an engine called the DeWitt Clinton traveled along New York rails at 15 miles per hour, pulling cars that looked like converted horse carriages filled with factory goods. The locomotive was named after the New York governor who was chiefly responsible for the creation of the Erie Canal. Businessmen convinced the U.S. Congress to provide funding, and by the 1850s, railroad companies had been loaned millions of dollars and given over 130 million acres of land to use. These railroads made the transportation of factory products faster and much cheaper than any other form of land transportation. They also made possible the building of factories in more remote towns and cities. The last page. Transcontinental railroads. By 1860, the United States had more than 30,000 miles of railroad, and it was decided to build a transcontinental railroad to link the cities of the East with the West. So the cities on the East Coast of the United States with the cities on the West Coast. The first transcontinental railroad connecting the Union Pacific and Central Pacific lines was completed in 1869. In the years that followed, railroad builders used government loans and land grants to build several transcontinental lines. The Great Northern Railroad connected the northern cities of the Midwest and the Far West. Several rail lines connected Midwestern and Southern cities to the cities in American Southwest and California. All right, the telegraph. A revolution was also taking place in communication in the United States. Samuel Morse invented the concept of the telegraph in the 1830s and finally managed to secure government funding for the telegraph line between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland, so that he could demonstrate the device. On May 24th, 1844, Morse sent the first message. What had God wrought? On the new line. The telegraph immediately became popular, and by 1861, the United States had over 76,000 miles of telegraph lines. Many of these lines ran parallel to railroads. The telegraph brought about another revolution in American life. Letters often took weeks to reach their destination, and answers required more time before action could be taken. The telegraph allowed immediate response. Businessmen were now able to communicate instantly with customers, suppliers, and shippers throughout the nation. The telegraph also changed the lives of average citizens who needed to communicate with relatives far away, and it radically altered the speed of military communication and operations. Right, the telephone. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. He formed the Bell Telephone Company the next year, and in 1884 opened the first long-distance telephone service. Despite the expense, many merchants and factory owners were glad to pay for the opportunity to talk directly with suppliers and buyers. Thomas Edison improved the phone and made it able to handle more calls and be heard more clearly. By 1890, more than 19,000 operators were employed to handle calls. Okay, so what you guys need to do now is take a picture of yourself giving a thumbs up, showing that you listened to this whole video, and then turn that picture in. Okay, so take a picture of yourself, thumbs up, turn it in. All right, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye.